Then on Sunday, a mass many Catholics have been anticipating for years now, where Pope Leo will canonize Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati and Blessed Carlo Acutis. Frassati was a third-order Dominican from the early 20th century who loved mountain climbing and serving the poor. He died from polio in 1925 at the age of 24. 90s kid Blessed Carlo Acutis lived nearly a century later and is known for his knack for technology and devotion to the Eucharist. The first millennial saint, he died in 2006 at the age of 15. Pope Francis intended to canonize both the young Italians at separate events earlier this year, but his death postponed the masses. Leo then announced September 7th as the new date, where they will be canonized together. Joining us now from St. Peter's Square is correspondent Colm Flynn, who will be anchoring EWTN's live coverage of the canonization mass of Blessed Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati in Rome. Colm, what's the feeling in Rome right now leading up to the canonization mass? Are you already seeing those crowds pour in?
Catherine, hey, great to see you. And yes, I can tell you this evening as I stand here, there are people just gathering in St. Peter's Square in anticipation of what is to come this weekend. It is going to be a truly historic event in the church. And I think to sum up the feeling, it's a mix of a number of things. As I mentioned, the excitement is there. These are two young millennial saints that are going to come to the church. That is pretty exciting, and the first ones under Pope Leo XIV's pontificate. But also anticipation. You know, people are reaching out, coming from all over the world. Hey, where do you get a ticket? What are the crowds going to be like? What time do I have to get there? But I think, Catherine, the overarching feeling is one of gratitude. Remember, these canonizations were meant to happen earlier in the year, but we know what transpired. So people came to Rome already expecting these canonizations. That changed into a papal funeral. They came back for Tour Vergata, all these youth, and now many of them are coming back for a third time to the Eternal City. So there's a mix of emotions, but I think gratitude is the overarching one as we head into this very exciting weekend.
And as you mentioned, Blessed Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio are the first saints Pope Leo XIV is canonizing. Can you speak to the significance of that for his pontificate?
Yeah, and you know, two very different people in that they lived, what, a century apart. One born in 1901, one born in 1991. But so many similarities too, in that a lot of the young people who are coming here can really relate to them. Pier Giorgio Frassati was into mountaineering and hiking and hanging out with his friends, singing from the treetops up in northern Italy where he was from. And then Carlo Acutis liked to play video games. He liked to code and design websites. And the significance with Pope Leo XIV is that when you look at some of the things that our new Holy Father has talked about already in this short pontificate, you know, the dangers of artificial intelligence, social media being a great place to evangelize and for what he calls digital missionaries, but also warning against the perils of algorithms that can divide us and separate us. When you look at our millennial saint, Carlo Acutis, he was in that space. He was into computers from a young age, but he also limited the time he spent online and playing computer games because he saw the beauty and the benefits of it, but he also saw the drawbacks and the dangers. So there are so many parallels between, for example, Carlo Acutis and Pope Leo XIV, the kind of things that he is emphasizing so far and talking about. Even at Tour Vergata, Catherine, when he spoke to over 1 million young people, he talked about social media from the altar to all the young people. And I was there in the crowd. You could hear a pin drop. He was speaking their language. There's a great sense that he knows the world they live in, the concerns they have. And so the fact that he has, yes, said, although these canonizations were meant to happen under the late Pope Francis, the fact that they are happening so soon now shows that he is saying, these are a priority for me and my pontificate.
Certainly saints for our time. And Colm, you recently joined a pilgrimage across Italy with young men to learn about Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati. What were some of the highlights of that pilgrimage, and what were you surprised to learn about this soon-to-be saint?
Catherine, the whole thing was a highlight because it was so much fun joining a group of 15 young men from the Carolinas, from Alabama, from Ohio, from New York, California, right across the United States, all coming from different places in their faith, some devout Catholics, some curious, having recently converted. So it was fascinating to join these great young men. We started in Turin, the birthplace of Pier Giorgio Frassati. We saw the house he grew up in. We saw the places that he would pray and go to Mass. And then we went and we actually, Catherine, hike the mountain that he hiked with his friends. Now, I think I'm in pretty okay shape. I try and go to the gym, cut back in the gelato and the pasta, but that was pretty tough, hiking up that mountain. But the highlight, I think, was, Catherine, when we got to the mountaintop, the very same place. We were standing on the same ground where Pier Giorgio Frassati, soon-to-be saint, was standing, and we celebrated Mass. And when Father Vincent Bernard, who is the chaplain at NYU, when he started to celebrate Mass, you know, you can be a bit distracted looking at the beautiful scenery and the terrain across all of northern Italy, but mist descended on the mountain, and all we could see and concentrate was on the Holy Mass in front of us. That was a really moving experience for me, for the EWTN crew, but for those 15 young men too. And if you haven't seen it, and I hope you have, you can check it out on the EWTN YouTube page as well.
A beautiful documentary and work that you did there, Colm. And Colm, Carlo Acutis' own family is expected to be at his canonization Mass. What a rare and powerful experience for a family. Talk about that.
Yeah, because normally when we talk about a saint, you know, we think of people who have been resigned to the history books in a way. Of course, the saints are always with us and we pray to them and for their intercession. But, you know, they're of another time normally. But I've met young people before when talking about their devotion, for example, to Carlo Acutis, and then they can say something like, oh yeah, and I met his mother. Now, can you imagine that, meeting the mother of a saint and being able to say, well, I've read all about Carlo Acutis, I've seen his website for Eucharistic miracles, but what was he like as a son? And, you know, people, when they see his mother, again, it makes it more relatable because they can maybe see bits of their own mother in his mother and see that he came from a very normal family. And again, in one way, he was very much like other young people, but in another way, he was quite extraordinary and quite unique. And the challenges he had to face, dying of leukemia at only 15 years of age. How we face that with such courage and with such faith, it can be such an example to us. So to be here and to know that we are with them in spirit, the saints, and they're with us here at the Mass this weekend, but to know then that his mother and his siblings are here in the crowd as well, and that we're all celebrating this canonization together, that's a pretty unique and extraordinary thing.
Well, we are so grateful for your reporting, and we'll be praying for your coverage this weekend. Colm Flynn, thank you so much.
Catherine, my pleasure, and thank you so much.